Welcome, luxury enthusiasts, to the Luxury Travelers Podcast, hosted by Rodney George. The ultimate passport to opulent destinations, extravagant experiences, and unparalleled indulgence. Whether one is a seasoned jet setter or daydreaming of the next lavish getaway, the Luxury Travelers Podcast has it all covered. So buckle up and prepare for a journey into the lap of luxury. Now, your host.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is when you're finally getting around to watching this version of the podcast, this episode. I'm just so blessed in this travel industry to have great friends in high places, and today is certainly no exception. Our special guest today is Shawn Tubman, who is the Senior VP of Sales and Trade Marketing for Regent Seven Seas Cruises, one of the 4 luxury brands in the world of luxury cruising. And he's going to bring us some incredible insights from the world of luxury and what's going on at Regent. So, Shawn, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Rodney. It's great to be with you.
I know that no grass grows underneath your feet, and I know that you actually started your career working on ships, didn't you?
I did. That's how I got into this whole marketplace. And it's funny, Rodney. You know, I'm from Philadelphia. All right, what do I know about cruises? Right, it was not the cruise capital of the world back then. Other than a Navy base we had there. But my sister moved down and got a job with Norwegian Caribbean Lines back in the 70s.
Wow.
And she was in reservations, and I just graduated college, and her house needed some repairs. So I was interviewing around Philadelphia for sales jobs. Xerox copiers were the big draw at that point. I was hoping to get a job with them, but she needed some help, so I flew down, and she just happened to carpool with the gal that hired for cruise staff on the cruise ships. And, you know, we had 4 small ships at the time, and the Norway was just coming out in 1980. And it was huge, relatively
speaking, yeah.
For those days, right? It was the last of the 1,000-foot transatlantic liners that was converted to a Caribbean ship, and they needed extra staff. So if we had 5 crew staff on one of the small ships, we had 25 crew staff on the Norway. It had so much entertainment and activities. So I ended up getting an offer and told my girlfriend of a few years in college, I'll see you in a few months. And that turned into 3 or 4 years. So
yeah, back on the Norway, I remember the first time I saw the Norway, I was on a cruise in St. Thomas, and the draft on the ship was so deep it couldn't get into the harbor at St. Thomas. They had to anchor out and tender in.
Right.
Yeah, that was
right.
quite.
Those are 2 nice landing craft we had. They were double decker. They could spin on a dime. They were really, really cool. We would take them right off the bow of the ship, lower them down the water, and we're off and running. They held 400 people each. So imagine 2,000 people total. We could clear the ship in 30 minutes.
So what did you love about that, and how did you fall in love with the cruise business from that intro with the old NCL Royal Caribbean?
Yeah, it wasn't hard, let me tell you. For a young single guy, it was not hard. It was just a lot of fun. I loved, working with our guests. Our guests were awesome. Our crew was awesome. So you're working with great people. And I still have so many, friendships to this day. And we all keep touch through social media. And we look at each other and we laugh how old we are, versus those days. But we're all really still close. So really enjoyed that. It's just a tremendous industry. The growth has been incredible over that 40 some years I've been doing this. And it's amazing to see the kind of ships coming out into the marketplace with the type of product that all the cruise lines are offering, whether it's contemporary, the Royal Caribbeans and NCLs, or the, premium lines, or our luxury cruises in the luxury space. So really exciting. And of course, luxury is the hot item now. It's almost as hot as river cruising. River cruising has been so hot for the last 6-7 years, but luxury, it's having its day right now. There's a lot of demand for luxury. A lot of the premium people are moving up, and there's a lot more tonnage available for that demand, and it's going to continue.
It's really in our sweet spot being here in Naples, Florida.
That's for sure. Right.
It's a paradise for a travel advisor, because people here have the two things that you need to have, and that's the time and the money to travel. And we're just so blessed being here in Naples. And speaking of blessings, I would have to guess one of the biggest blessings you've had in your career was the opportunity to work with Frank Del Rio.
Oh, yeah. Super guy. And a real, not just a visionary and an operator. He really knew how to run a cruise line, but he was just a great person to work with. And
I still remember being on the Oceania Riviera for their christening in Barcelona. And after the christening was over and everybody's up on the top deck, and I'm standing there talking to the godmother, Kat Cora, and Frank's over by the little kiddie wading pool thing. And I see him hand his phone to his wife, and he takes his suit coat off, and that wasn't a Walmart suit, I'm guessing. And he rolls up his pant legs and takes his shoes and socks off, and he gets in the wading pool with his grandkids.
Oh yeah.
And I looked at my wife and I go, "That's a real man right there."
Yeah. Really a family person, and that transponded to the whole company. It was a family atmosphere, whether you're shoreside or shipside. And his company, he started Oceania Cruises, obviously, and the company was called Prestige, and they then bought Regent. And then we both got acquired by Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings. And, to Frank's credit, he was about to leave, and the board asked him to stay and run all three lines as chairman of NCLH. So that family atmosphere continues to this day.
Well, there was a lot of people on my side holding their breath, wondering when that was all going on, where's Frank going to end up, because he was such an icon and such a leader
right
in that space. So
his son's doing great too. Frank Jr., is running Oceania, and Andrea DeMarco is president of Regent, and been with the company for a long time, and ran all the investor relations, working side by side with Frank for 10 years. So she's really capable, and we're really excited with the opportunity we have.
Hey, there's probably some people that are going to be watching this that are not really familiar with Regent Seven Seas. What would you say to give them an overview of Regent's place in the marketplace?
Yeah, we definitely, thank you. We operate in the luxury space. As I was talking about before, you do have different strata. And the NCLs and the Royal Caribbeans, the Carnivals, are in the contemporary space. And then you have premium. People move up. And that's what happens in the industry. They start out typically contemporary. Then after a number of years, they love cruising, but they want to know about this premium space. They're larger staterooms and a little more space, fewer people, and they move up, and then they eventually move up to luxury. And so you go from 3,000 people on a ship in premium to 700 people, in a luxury ship, and they're all suites. So luxury is bandied about too much these days, I think, in advertising. A lot of people are claiming they're luxury, but there's true luxury, and there's a lot that has to go into that, and size of the ship and size of the suites and space, personal space and space ratios on board matter a lot. Our ships are large enough to have all the bells and whistles, all the great lounges, entertainment, great dining, alternative restaurants, but small enough to be intimate and no crowds, no lines. It's a really civilized way of traveling. So our guests love it, and we have a high repeat factor. We are the most inclusive luxury line. And again, all-inclusive is kind of bandied about also these days. But there's a true difference between ourselves and our competitors where we are the most inclusive. And pretty much the only thing that's not included are the casinos, the gift shops, and
really high-end excursions. The private excursions aren't included.
Yeah, the higher-end excursions, right? Like if you want to do a helicopter tour, that's not included. But all the other excursions are included. So there's not a lot that's excluded
Right.
from the product. So it's really been our staple. It's what our guests love about us. It's why they come back over and over. They really love the concept of paying one price and knowing it's in there, not being nickel and dimed on board the ship. There's no decision making. It's kind of the atmosphere that it creates. It's a very easy way to travel, no stress and so forth on board. So, the latest one was laundry services. Our guest asked us, if we could include free valet laundry. And, it's kind of a minor thing, but it's very major when you're taking a 29-day cruise, right? And so it's really popular. And, I'm wondering what the next thing is, right? There's not much else we can include at this point.
No, there's really not. And
Yeah.
I know whenever I step on a Regent ship, it's like there's such a welcome home, welcome back kind of atmosphere. And I really love your three newest ships. I guess that's because everything's pretty much in the same place on all the ships, and I feel like I know my way around.
Yeah, and that holds true for the first, three ships also. But the last three are the Explorer class, and it definitely raised the bar in the luxury market when we brought out those ships. Much more expansive, a larger platform with the same number of guests, larger hallways, higher ceilings, wider hallways, more impressive lounges. Design work is just incredible. And it's a very engaging atmosphere. That's what our guests love about it. I mean, you're always looking around going, wow, I didn't notice that before. I didn't notice this before. This is unbelievable design work. So we're really, we really think we have the sweet spot in the luxury space. It's roughly that 500 to 750, slot. And we think, again, large enough to have all the amenities, small enough to be intimate.
Okay, I remember when the Explorer class was being introduced, and the travel media was writing it up as the most luxurious ship in the world. And I'll have to say, not only did you live up to it, but you exceeded my expectations. And then, as Frank Del Rio always did, he made improvements on the next two versions that are for the novice not noticeable, but for somebody who's been around the cruise industry for a long time, they were quite noticeable, and everything was an improvement.
Yeah, and that's it's kind of a natural process where you bring out the first in a class of ships, and then the next ship comes around, and you're thinking about what else or what different should we do, and you always learn from the ship prior. Oh, we probably should tweak this stairway and turn it around. The better traffic flow, stuff like that. But they all have their look and feel. Again, different designs, different themes, different color palettes, and so forth. So we really want to keep it exciting for the guests on board. Certain lines, it's a cookie cutter sort of. They're nice, but they all look exactly the same, and we don't really go for that. So
I tell people all the time, it's simple, elegant luxury.
Yeah.
It really is.
Comfortable. And again, it's that family atmosphere with the crew. The crew just are so friendly that our guests come back. Most of it is because of the crew. They want to see the crew again. And they've known them for 30 years. It's an incredible thing. So it's just a very comfortable atmosphere. And you really don't have to worry about too much. We take care of the details.
Shawn, from where you sit, there at the headquarters, what kind of trends are you seeing in the marketplace regarding luxury travel, and how does Regent fit into all that?
Yeah, it's an exciting time for us. And as I mentioned before, the market is growing. There's more demand for luxury. A lot of most of our new guests, new to the brand guests, are coming right from the premium cruise lines. Mostly the suites on Contemporary and Premium move up to Regent. And so again, they love cruising and they just want a better experience after a number of years. And they've loved, NCL, all right? And they love Oceania. And Oceania deals in the upper premium slot. They sort of have their own niche, right, in the market. But we get people moving up from that also. So it's just a good time for luxury, and we're going to continue to expand. We're seeing different prospects come, though, not just the premium cruisers. Since the pandemic, we've started to see luxury hotel guests, like travelers that typically would like to go to Europe for 10 days, go to 3 different cities, stay in luxury hotels. That's been sort of their preference. They were kind of never interested in luxury cruises because they always did that. Well, with the advent of the pandemic, the prices in luxury hotels have doubled and tripled. And so it's to the point where those type of travelers refuse to pay those kind of prices. They have the money. It's just the principle of the whole thing, and they're not getting quite the travel experience they used to get, not exactly the level of service at the hotels. The hotels are dealing with things that we all deal with staffing and access, and trying to for our travel partners like yourself to have to try to help somebody do a 10-day trip to Europe. You've got to talk to all the concierges at the hotels to get meals, entertainment, excursions, all that booked and arranged for them. There's a lot of areas where it can, hiccup for the travelers. So we've seen a big demand from traditional luxury hotel travelers. That's new for us. They never considered cruising before, but now they're very interested because when you compare our trip, there's a lot less hassle and it's less expensive. We're probably 25% less expensive than what you'd have to pay for a luxury hotel trip, doing the same 10 days in Europe, on a cruise, doing 3 or 4 cities. It's a great comparison right now. And so much so that we just introduced 6 immersive exploration sailings. And so we're kind of changing the dynamic, the traditional dynamic of cruising, where on a 10-day cruise, you'll do 8 ports or 9 ports. It's always been popular to do as many ports as I can get in 10 days in cruising. But there are certain markets, certain types of travelers now, like those hotel guests, who don't want to just go every day to another port and hustle and bustle. And again, they want to stay. They want to spend more time at these ports. So what we're doing is we're introducing 3 sailings this fall in Europe, and then 3 sailings next year. One's in Asia, and one's in the Med, and one's in Northern Europe. And we've taken 10-day cruises, for example, but you'll have 4 ports instead of 8 ports. But every port is an overnight. And some of these ports, you'll have 3 days versus 2 days to really get into that port and explore that destination versus having 8 or 10 hours in that port. So that nighttime experience is so much different. And the next day, where you can go outside of the city, you can go to the regions around, or you can travel to another city. Like the one in the Med, we're going to the Amalfi Coast. And so we'll be 3 days in that area, and you can just use the ship as your floating luxury hotel and every day go play in different cities. It's just good. I think it's really going to catch fire because I think the majority of travelers still want to do the more ports, They want to see a lot of destinations, of course, and it's an easy way to do it. But there's other people that want to immerse themselves a lot more in these ports. So that's new for us, and that's on the website. And of course, you all can help them with that.
I think you're on to something big there, because I can't tell you how many times I've been in a place like Dubrovnik and wanted to go to my favorite restaurant in that part of the world. It's right outside the gate of the old city. It's called Nautica. And yet we had a 7 o'clock all aboard. And so you can't go to dinner. So I think you're really onto something there, because while people want to see as much as they can, there's certain places that you want to drill deeper.
Yeah, and you'll see, like, we're doing that Dalmatian coast and, Montenegro and, Croatia and so forth. And, you could go from Dubrovnik to Split, you'd have time to do that.
The 10,000-pound gorilla in the room. I always try to find out, okay, so what's coming next? What's new? What's new and exciting above and beyond what we've already talked about? And a lot of people are doing new stuff with their brand, but you guys seem to always be out there on the cutting edge. And you got any new ships coming that we haven't heard about that you can tell us about? What's new at Regent, I guess, is really what I'm asking.
We just did announce, as part of the NCLH brand, Harry Summers, our new chairman, CEO of the Tri-Brands. And I've worked with Harry so many years, too many years, almost 30, 35 years, I think, and really capable. And he's doing a great job. And we just announced as a Tri-Brand 8 new builds in the next few years. And 2 of those are going to be for Regent. And so I'm really excited. We're going to have our Grandeur, the 3rd in that Explorer class, just came out this winter.
Right.
So she's brand new and getting rave reviews. And so now the next ship will come out in 2026 and then 2029. And that's sort of been our cadence of new ships every 3 years. We think it's a nice cadence because it gives us enough time to digest that inventory in a reasonable way, like controlled growth. You don't want to grow too fast. And then you have to try to, fill every suite, and there's too many suites to fill, and then you have to discount, right? You don't want to get into that. So we're excited about it, and I'm telling you, there's not too many details yet, but these ships are going to be unbelievable. They're going to be 40% larger in gross tonnage than the Grandeur, our newest ship, 40% larger, but only 13% more guests on board.
Wow.
So the space ratios are going to, we already have the highest space ratios at sea. This is going to take it over the top and really allow us to be more creative with what's offered on board and the lounges and the entertainment. You can just imagine, what else we can add. So very exciting to come.
A good friend of mine who's a James Beard award-winning chef, we had him on board the Splendor last year as a spotlight cruise. And he walked on the ship and I just saw his jaw drop. And every time he turned around, his jaw was dropping again. He goes, I had no idea you could build something this beautiful and make it float.
Yeah, and he must have loved the culinary kitchen there.
He loved that. I'll tell you what, he was such a great guy. I just saw a video that he did the other day. He was on what used to be Regis and Kathy Lee, and now it's I can't think of his name. Anyway, he and Kelly, and he was just on their show, and he just took over. So one day on your ship on the Splendor, it was a day at sea, which is unusual for you guys in Europe, but it was a little overcast, but people were sitting out by the pool anyway. And he goes, the food and beverage director was there, and he goes, what do you think about making some margaritas for the ship? Well, Dean, if you know Chef Fearing, he's from Dallas. He has his restaurant in the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, and he is a margarita man. Oh. And so he gave this margarita lecture poolside, and then he proceeded to make margaritas all afternoon. And he said, there's only one thing that you should put in a margarita that comes out of a bottle, and that's the tequila. Everything else must be natural. And the people were going crazy over his handmade margaritas.
life is good, right?
Life is good. Hey, before we wrap up here, any advice for our audience as to traveling on Regent? And I can tell them the best bang for their buck is to come to us, but you can probably tell them other reasons they should.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
They should be traveling with Regent.
They should come to you first and foremost. We love working with you, and we have such a great, long-standing relationship, and you do so much business with us. And as I think I saw one of your other podcasts when you had Michelle Fee from Cruise Planners on.
Right.
And, they're such a great organization, and again, they have as good or better marketing than we do as a cruise line. That's how good they are, right? And the people they have supporting your efforts and everything. So definitely, you have, through your relationship with them, the best offers out in the marketplace that there are. I would say, first of all, pack your patience these days, because the world is not what it was pre-pandemic. And so you just have to be patient. You have to know that things are going to happen when you travel the world these days. Infrastructure is not quite what it was 5 years ago. And so between the airlines and the hotels and, tours and drivers and buses and so forth, it's not quite as smooth as it used to be. So just pack your patience and you'll enjoy it so much more if you go into a vacation expecting some hiccups. Maybe you'll get none, but it's better than thinking everything's going to be perfect these days. And it's just not a perfect world anymore, right?
It never was. We were all living under an illusion.
Yeah. It never was true, but relatively, yeah, that's for sure. But we've got some great promotions, Rodney, that, we always have different public promotions going during the year, depending on the destination and time of year. We try to be in the best places at the best time of the year. Some great opportunities. They really should continue to check with you, and your website for the latest deals, because let's face it, everybody wants a deal, right? We don't mind spending the money, but if we can get a deal, fantastic. So,
yeah, and that's what we do for our clients. We always look. Here's the best way to do what you're trying to accomplish. And I'll tell you what, you hit a nerve earlier about the hotels. I was in a luxury brand hotel, 6 or 8 weeks ago, and I came back at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon and my room hadn't been touched. So I called down and they said, "Oh, you have to let us know if you want your room serviced." I go, "Wait, isn't this luxury?" But it's kind of one of those post-COVID things. If you want your room made up, you got to let us know. Yeah, that never happens on your ships, by the way.
That as
soon as you're out, I've
sure.
gone off the ship for 25, 30 minutes and come back to get something, and my room's already made up. So it's great doing business with you guys. You got an incredible thing going on, and it's a pleasure to have you on the show today. And I just want to close with something that I always close with, and that's for my good friend up in Atlanta, Dr. Philip Randall. He said one time, and it's stuck with me for over 40 years now, and that is, enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Thanks a lot, Shawn.
All right, Rodney. Great to see you. Great to be with you. Have a great day.
Great to have you on the show.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on the Luxury Travelers Podcast. For more information, head on over to luxurytravelerspodcast.com to connect with our team or leave us a message. Until next time, safe travels and savor the extraordinary.